My boyfriend told me his family liked me. Then his brother called me the quiet charity case at dinner, and everyone laughed. That was when I stopped pretending I was the problem. I'm 26. My boyfriend Daniel is 27. We have been together for almost 2 years. When we first started dating, I warned him that I was not great in loud family settings. I have anxiety. Not the cute kind people joke about online. The real kind. The kind that makes my chest tighten before I walk into a room full of people who already know each other. I told him this early because I did not want there to be confusion later. Daniel said he understood. He said his family was loud but harmless. He said they teased each other, but it came from love. He said, "You'll get used to them." I believed him. That was my first mistake. The first time I met his mother, it was barely a meeting. Daniel brought me to his house after we had lunch. His mom was in the kitchen. He said, "This is Elise." She looked up, smiled quickly, and said, "Nice to meet you." Then she went back to stirring something on the stove. No questions. No conversation. No effort. I told myself she was busy. When Daniel met my parents, it was completely different. My mom cooked dinner. My dad asked about his job. My younger sister made dessert. Everyone wanted to know him, not interrogate him. Know him. They asked about his family, his hobbies, his work, his plans. By the end of the night, my dad was showing him old photos, and my mom was packing leftovers for him. Daniel loved it. He said my family made him feel welcome. I was happy about that. I also felt a little embarrassed because I had never felt that way with his. For months, we mostly spent time at my place. Daniel said it was easier. His family had moved houses, his mom was busy, and his older brother was staying with them temporarily. So I did not push it. Then they settled into their new house, and suddenly Daniel wanted me there more. Family dinners, birthdays, Sunday afternoons, game nights. I tried. I really did. The problem was that his family did not talk to me. They talked around me. His mom would ask Daniel how work was, while I sat beside him. His brother Mark would tell jokes with his wife and act like I was furniture. His sister Chloe would ask Daniel if he wanted dessert and never ask me. If I joined the conversation, someone would answer politely and then turn away. After a while, I stopped trying so hard. Then Daniel noticed that. On the drive home one night, he said, "You were really quiet." I said, "No one talked to me." He said, "You have to jump in." I said, "I did." He said, "Not really." That became the pattern. At his family's house, I was ignored. On the way home, I was blamed for being ignored. Then the jokes started. At first, they were small. His brother called me church mouse because I was quiet. His sister said, "She speaks." The first time I answered a question. His mom once said, "You're hard to read." I smiled every time because I did not want to seem sensitive. That was my second mistake. The more I smiled, the worse it got. One night at dinner, Mark asked Daniel, "Does she talk when you two are alone, or is this the full package?" Everyone laughed. Daniel laughed too. Not hard, but enough. I looked at him. He leaned toward me and whispered, "They're joking." I said, "I know." But I did not know. Because jokes are supposed to include you, not turn you into the thing everyone else is sharing. A few weeks later, I had a rough day before another family dinner. I had barely slept. Work was awful. I almost canceled, but Daniel said his mom had already cooked and it would look rude. So I went. I sat through 2 hours of his family talking about people I did not know, stories I had no context for, and jokes I was not part of. Then Mark started arguing with his wife about something political. I stayed out of it. He turned to me and said, "Careful, don't ask Elise. She might need a therapist after hearing an opinion." The table went quiet for half a second. Then Chloe laughed. Daniel's mom smiled like she was uncomfortable, but did not want to say anything. Daniel stared at his plate. I said, "What does that mean?" Mark shrugged. "You're anxious, right? Daniel said you get overwhelmed." I looked at Daniel. He looked guilty immediately. I said, "You told him that." Daniel said, "I didn't say it like that." I said, "What exactly did you say?" He said, "Just that you get nervous around family stuff." Mark raised his hands. "Relax, I'm just joking." I said, "I'm relaxed." He smirked. "Doesn't look like it." That was the first time I pushed back. I said, "It's weird how everyone keeps saying you're joking, but I'm always the punchline." Nobody laughed that time. On the drive home, Daniel was angry. Not at Mark. At me. He said, "You made dinner awkward." I said, "Your brother brought up my anxiety in front of everyone." He said, "He didn't mean anything." I said, "Then why didn't you say anything?" He said, "Because if I defend you every time, they'll think you can't handle anything." That sentence stayed with me, because Daniel was not worried about whether I was hurt. He was worried about whether defending me made him look weak. After that, I stopped going to some family events. Not all. Some. Daniel noticed immediately. He said his mother felt like I did not like them. I said, "Has she ever asked me a real question?" He said, "She's not good at that stuff." I said, "But I'm supposed to be good at everything?" He said I was keeping score. I said, "No, I'm noticing a pattern." Then came his mother's birthday. Daniel asked me to come. I did not want to. He said, "Please just try for me." So I went. I bought his mom a small gift, a handmade ceramic serving bowl from a local artist. I chose it because Daniel said she liked hosting. When she opened it, she said, "Oh, that's different." That was it. Then Mark gave her an expensive coffee machine, and everyone acted like he had rebuilt the house. I did not care about the gift. I cared that nothing I did ever seemed to land. After dinner, Daniel's mom thanked everyone. She hugged Mark. She hugged Chloe. She hugged Daniel. Then she gave me a quick pat on the shoulder and said, "Thanks for coming." Like I was a coworker. Later that night, while people were cleaning up, I heard Mark talking in the kitchen. He thought I was outside. He said, "I don't know why Daniel keeps bringing her. She looks like she's being held hostage." Chloe said, "She's just awkward." Then Mark said, "No, she's like a project. He always dates girls who need fixing." I walked into the kitchen. Everyone froze. I said, "Say that again." Mark went pale. Chloe looked at the floor. Daniel walked in behind me and asked what happened. I said, "Your brother just called me a project." Mark said, "That's not what I meant." I said, "Then explain what you meant." He said, "I meant you seem uncomfortable here." I said, "Because you keep making me uncomfortable." Daniel said, "Can we not do this right now?" I turned to him. I said, "No, we are doing it right now." His mother came in and asked what was going on. I said, "I'm tired of being mocked in this house and then blamed for not feeling welcome." She said, "Nobody is mocking you." I said, "Your son just called me a project." She looked at Mark. Then she said, "He has a blunt sense of humor." I said, "That is not a personality. That is an excuse." Daniel looked mortified. Again, not because I had been hurt, because I had said it out loud. We left 10 minutes later. In the car, Daniel said, "You embarrassed me." I said, "Good." He looked shocked. I said, "Maybe now you know what it feels like." He said, "My family's not perfect, but you don't even try." That was the turning point. I said, "I have spent almost 2 years trying to earn basic politeness from people who don't even know my job title." He said, "That's not fair." I said, "Ask your mother what I do for work." He said nothing. I said, "Ask your brother my last name." Still nothing. Then I said, "You wanted me to fit into your family, but you never made space for me." After that, Daniel told me he needed time. Fine, I needed time too. For 3 days, we barely talked. Then his mother texted me, not an apology, a lecture. She said, "Families tease. If you plan to be part of this family, you need thicker skin." I replied, "I don't plan to be part of a family where respect is treated like a special favor." She did not answer. Daniel called me 10 minutes later. He said, "Did you really text my mom that?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're making this worse." I said, "No, I'm making it clear." He said I was forcing him to choose. I said, "I am asking you to stop making me choose between being disrespected and being called difficult." He said, "They are my family." I said, "And I was supposed to become family too, remember?" He had no answer. Update 1. We are not broken up, but we are close. Daniel wants me to apologize for how I handled things. I told him I would apologize for raising my voice if he apologized for letting his family use my anxiety as entertainment. He said that was dramatic, so I did not apologize. Update 2. Mark sent a message that said, "Sorry if you took it the wrong way." I replied, "I took it the way you said it." He has not answered. Update 3. My family found out because Daniel called my sister asking for advice. That was ironic. My sister asked him one question. She said, "If she treated you this way at our house, would you keep showing up?" He did not answer her either. So now I am sitting with the obvious truth. Daniel likes the version of me who is patient, quiet, understanding, easy to explain away. He does not like the version of me who names what is happening, but that version is the one I need to keep. I am not asking his family to love me. I am asking them to stop calling disrespect a joke, just because I finally stopped laughing. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe every family has a language outsiders need to learn. But if the price of joining his family is swallowing every insult so they can stay comfortable, then I do not want a seat at that table.